After the Renaissance, after Contessa Eveline's disappearance, and after the enigmatic portrait was packed away into an archive, the knot vanished from the sight of historians. It wasn't gone, it was resting. Europe entered a new age of machines, steam, industry, and science. People became more critical, more logical, more focused on measurable truths. The old magic did not weaken, but it found fewer open doors. Still, traces appeared. Small, almost invisible coincidences. An amateur occultist in London who found a collection of thread remnants in the basement of a house torn down that same year. A Czech mathematician in Prague who drew a pattern he called the interweaving of time, before dying suddenly of a stroke in the middle of a lecture. A Siberian expedition that vanished except a single trace. A notebook with a single disturbing sentence. We found the thread. None of these stories made headlines. None were investigated deeply. The world had other things to worry about. But long afterward, when placed side by side, it was as if a faint line connected them. Women with the same eyes as the sirens and witches of old began appearing again. Not in forests or ruins, but in Parisian salons, in the opera houses of Milan, in art schools in Barcelona, in Copenhagen lofts. They were not magical, not supernatural. They were modern, educated, independent, self-aware. But within a few of them lived an ancient ability, a sharp psychological insight, an uncanny intuition, a discomforting awareness of what people truly wanted. They needed no song, no ritual. Their mere presence was enough. And men fell just as easily as before. Not because they were weak, but because these women struck something within them they didn't even know they carried. None of the women knew where the ability came from. None spoke of a knot. They were not a cult, not an order. They simply shared something unseen, a kind of inheritance passed from generation to generation. Wherever they went, the likelihood increased that men would lose direction, and fall into problems they believed were of their own making. Duels, scandals, gambling, bad investments, restlessness that ruined careers. By the mid-20th century, the traces became more concrete. A small museum in southern France purchased a leather pouch from an estate sale. Inside was a tangled thread made of a material no one could identify. Next to it, a parchment with a single sentence. The one who binds must bear. Scholars disagreed. Some called it a hoax. Journalists wrote a few lines about it before the story disappeared into an archive and was never recovered. Or so it seemed. Someone found it. Someone not necessarily employed by the museum. In the 60s and 70s, technology exploded. Radar systems, computers, cryptography, signal processing, all of it began to shift the knot's role in the world. Where once people had searched for magic, they now searched for patterns in noise, anomalies, coincidences, and many who entered these fields, mathematicians, intelligence analysts, engineers, linguists, were men who, earlier in life, had encountered a woman who left a scar, or a spark, in their soul. Some were strengthened, others were broken, but all of them began to see things in data no one else noticed. One described it as recognizing an old pattern, but with no face to attach it to. Another said it felt like seeing threads in chaos. Between 1970 and 1990, internal reports began surfacing within obscure subgroups of European universities and research circles. Irregular patterns in economics, in language, in family structures, in human decision-making. The data wasn't supernatural, but it didn't fit into any known models. And in every case, the pattern could be traced back to one or two individuals who seemed to shift the direction of entire social networks simply by entering a room. No one mentioned a knot. No one spoke of ancient stories, but the structure was familiar. In the late 1990s and early 2000s, things became more tangible. The digital revolution made it possible to detect patterns in motion, travel, communication, economic activity, strange coincidences between people. No state, no scientist, no institution saw the whole picture. But a few informal groups, scattered across Europe, began to realize they were not alone in seeing it. An Italian psychologist recorded that several male patients described entangled life paths after encounters with certain women. A Belgian financial analyst, writing under a pseudonym, claimed some market movements followed a knot logic driven by an unknown external pressure. British computer scientists found anomalies in data she could never explain, until she burned her notes and refused to speak of them again. No one published, no one dared, no one understood. But one thing became clear: the knot is no longer an object. It is a pattern, a system that influences people, choices, directions, invisible, but not imperceptible. It is active again. The eternal knot has awakened.